Assalamu alaikum, dear students. In this video lecture, you will learn the behavior and nature of various revenue curves under imperfectly competitive market situation, or we can say under imperfect competition. Students, as already discussed in our previous lectures, that in case of imperfect competition, a firm is a price maker. We discussed two important forms of imperfect competition, which are monopoly and monopolistic competition, in our previous two lectures. So, we know that under monopoly, a firm has full control over price due to the absence of competition, and in case of monopolistic competition, a firm enjoys only partial control over price through product differentiation. Or, in other words, we can say that a firm under monopolistic competition can influence the price of their products, though to some extent. Accordingly, a firm under monopoly and monopolistic competition, or simply we can say under imperfect competition, can plan to increase the sales by lowering its prices. So, when a firm has partial or full control over price, as is the case in case of imperfect competition, it can sell more of a product only by reducing the price of the product. So, keeping this point in mind that firm under imperfect competition can sell more only by reducing the prices, we will explain the behavior of total revenue, marginal revenue, and average revenue with the help of a table given here in this slide. Students, from this table we can see that if a firm wants to sell more, it will have to lower down the price. So here we see as the price falls from rupees 10 to rupees 4, the output sold in case of imperfect competition increases from 1 units to 7 units. Total revenue, which is given in third column of the table, which is equal to price into number of units sold, increases from rupees 10 to rupees 30 at 5 units. However, at 6th unit, it becomes constant and ultimately starts falling at next unit, that is at 7th unit. Average revenue is same as the price, as we know that average revenue is nothing but the price of the commodity. So average revenue is equal to price also tends to decline as more and more units of output are sold. Now see the last column of the table where we calculated the marginal revenue. Here we see marginal revenue also goes on decreasing with increase in sales. It means that we are adding less and less to total revenue for every additional unit sold, which means that total revenue increases at decreasing rate up to the fifth units. At the sixth unit, marginal revenue is 0, means total revenue is maximum. And beyond the sixth unit, marginal revenue becomes negative, hence total revenue starts declining as from rupees 30 to rupees 28 as given in the third column of the table. One more important point to note here is that when average revenue falls, Marginal revenue also falls, but it falls more than that of average revenue. And the rate of fall in marginal revenue is twice to that of average revenue. Just look at the fourth and fifth column of the table where we calculated average revenue and marginal revenue respectively. We observe that average revenue is declining by rupees 1, that is from rupees 10 to rupees 9 to rupees 8 and so on, whereas marginal revenue is declining by rupees 2, that is from rupees 10 to rupees 8 to rupees 6 and so on. This proves that under monopoly and monopolistic competition, both average revenue and marginal revenue declines, but marginal revenue declines faster than average revenue. So, at all the levels of output, average revenue is greater than marginal revenue under imperfect competition. Here is the diagrammatic representation of total revenue, average revenue, and marginal revenue curves under imperfect competition. In this figure here, the units of output have been shown on horizontal axis, that is on x-axis, while revenue, that is total revenue, average revenue, and marginal revenue are shown on vertical axis, that is on y-axis. Here, TR, AR, and MR are total revenue curve, average revenue curve, and marginal revenue curve respectively. Students, in part A of the figure, total revenue curve is sloping upwards but at a diminishing rate from the origin to point K, which shows that total revenue is increasing at a diminishing rate. In such a situation, marginal revenue is falling but is positive, that is above x-axis as shown in part B of the figure. From point K to K dash, total revenue is constant, but at point K dash, total revenue is maximum, and at this point, marginal revenue is 0 as marginal revenue curve touches x-axis corresponding to this point. Students, beyond point K dash, total revenue starts falling, means that even by selling more units of output, total revenue is falling. In such a situation, marginal revenue becomes negative as marginal revenue curve in part B of the figure goes below x-axis beyond point K dash. Moreover, it is also clear from part B of the figure that average revenue curve, which is equal to price and is also the demand curve of a firm, slopes downwards, means average revenue falls as more and more units of output are sold. We can also see here that when both average revenue and marginal revenue are falling, marginal revenue is less than average revenue as marginal revenue curve lies below the average revenue curve, or we can say average revenue exceeds marginal revenue at all levels of output under imperfect competition. It also means that under imperfect competition, price, which is equal to average revenue, is greater than marginal revenue, whereas in case of perfect competition, as discussed in our previous lectures, price, which is the average revenue, is equal to marginal revenue. So students, in case of imperfect competition, marginal revenue can be positive, it can be 0, or it can be negative. As we see here, marginal revenue curve lies above axis up to point K dash. At point K dash, it touches the x-axis, means marginal revenue is 0. And beyond point K dash, it goes below x-axis, means marginal revenue is negative. But average revenue is always positive. As we see in part B of the figure, average revenue curve lies above the x-axis. It's because a firm does not sell any unit if average revenue, which is the price, is either 0 or negative. So what we observe from the table and figure is that under imperfect competition, price is equal to average revenue, which is also the demand curve of the firm. It falls with increase in sales. Total revenue increases initially at a diminishing rate, then reaches its maximum, and then starts falling. When total revenue increases at a diminishing rate, marginal revenue declines but has a positive value. When total revenue reaches its maximum, marginal revenue is equal to 0. And when total revenue starts declining, marginal revenue is negative. We also observe here that in case of imperfect competition, both average revenue and marginal revenue falls, but average revenue is not equal to marginal revenue in case of imperfectly competitive market structure. That is, in such a market situation, average revenue is greater than marginal revenue at all levels of output, or in other words, we can say that the rate of fall in marginal revenue is greater than, or we can say twice to that of average revenue. Students, as we know that average revenue curve is the demand curve of an individual firm. Thus, in case of imperfect competition, the demand curve for a firm slopes downwards from left to right, whereas in case of perfect competition, as already discussed in our previous lectures, that demand curve facing an individual firm under perfect competition is horizontal line parallel to x-axis. That is, the demand curve of an individual firm in case of perfect competition is perfectly elastic. Now, the figures in this slide gives a comparative look of firm's average revenue and marginal revenue curves in monopoly and monopolistic competition. Here we can see that under monopoly as well as under monopolistic competition, both average revenue and marginal revenue curves are downward sloping straight lines from left to right, and in both the cases, average revenue is greater than marginal revenue at all levels of output. The only difference is that under monopoly, firms' average revenue and marginal revenue curves are steeper, or we can say they are less elastic due to the absence of close substitutes, as shown in the figure given on the left hand side of the slide. Whereas under monopolistic competition, firms' average revenue and marginal revenue curves are flatter, or we can say more elastic, owing to the presence of close substitutes, or we can say owing to the existence of many competitors in the market. And it is shown in the figure given on the right hand side of the slide. It also means that cross price elasticity of demand is high in case of monopolistic competition and low in case of monopoly market structure. Thank you.